Political disagreements seem to be front and center on social media, but some research indicates that those disagreements actually lead to some turmoil in personal relationships as well. In fact, there was a recent study that looked into how many couples have either gotten into significant arguments or have completely broken up because of disagreements over the Trump administration. So according to the International Business Times, new research shows that 1 in 10 US breakups are now the result of political disagreements. Almost 1 in 4 couples said they and their partner have disagreed or argued about politics more than ever since Trump was elected. 10% of couples and 22% of millennials have ended relationships because of political disagreements. Okay, I wanna stop for a second, because that 22% number for millennials gives me the perception that millennials are paying super close attention and are incredibly engaged in politics, right? They keep getting painted as these like lazy bums that don't know anything and they rely too much on the internet. No, they rely on the internet, and that's a good thing because they're more informed and they're more engaged and they're more invested in politics. Now, whether or not you think it's a good thing that they're breaking up with their significant other over politics, that's a different story. But I do think it's a good sign that they feel fired up and passionate about the issues.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's good that they pay attention significantly more than older folks do, and it's because they grow up on a media that's different. They grew up in a media where you could look anything up, whereas old people grew up on a media that was a box in their living room that just gave them propaganda. Of course, you guys are smarter, right? So of course, intelligence is a different matter, but you have more knowledge at your disposal, and you've taken advantage of that. Okay, now on to whether people should break up. I think they should. So
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Now, not over minor disagreements, and does my wife and I agree on everything politically? Of course not, no, and that's normal, right? And are there members of our extended family that voted for Trump? Yes, and can I break up with them? No, I can't, right? And it is what it is, right? And like, don't go and just get into a fight with your great uncle. It's not gonna work, and just let him watch Fox News and everything's gonna be okay, right? So you gotta know what you can make a difference with. On the other hand, if it's your young cousin, you might wanna talk sense into them by giving them facts, or just keep sending them Young Turks videos. Okay, now, and I don't mean to give up on older Americans, okay? I believe in you. Okay, now, but if it's your boyfriend or girlfriend, and they think Trump is awesome, that means can only lead to 2 conclusions, okay? So I'm the bad guy, I'll say it. Either they're not that bright or they're a pretty bad person, right?
Yeah.
So, because look, let's make it real. It's not because, okay, hey, we disagree on tax cuts, right? I think tax rate should be 17% and you think it should be 19%, whatever, making up numbers, right? Like, oh my God, then you're a bad person, right? No. In Trump's case, here's a guy who clearly is absolutely clueless and dangerously so, doesn't know who the leader of North Korea is, doesn't realize that healthcare was gonna be complicated. Just, he's a moron. And so, but most people don't know that. They really don't know all the details of politics that we know. So I'm not saying to any Trump person, you should immediately pull the chute, but have a conversation. And if they think it's great that our president doesn't know who the leader of North Korea is, even though we might get into a war with North Korea, well, it's troubling, right? If they think, oh, it's great that our president grabs women by the genitalia without their permission, that's troubling, right? I can go on and on for the reasons why it's troubling. I don't want to hang out with a person who thinks all that stuff is awesome.
Look, I agree with you for the most part, but also there is some context that we should keep in mind. So, is your significant other very invested in politics, is paying attention to what's going on,
yes,
and has strong opinions in favor of Trump and what he's doing? In that case, get out of there. Like I couldn't deal with that, right? But if you're dating someone who's not really invested or engaged in politics and just, has like an uninformed opinion and is just like, yeah, he or she defends Trump by saying he tells it like it is. I don't know. He's an anti-establishment guy. I feel like there's hope, right?
Oh, of course. Yeah, I totally agree.
So don't shut down the conversation as soon as someone says something a little positive about Trump, because those kinds of conversations need to be had, right? But if you have like, I don't know, like a Richard Spencer type person or a David Duke type person, like get out. It's not a good idea. Or Steve Bannon type person.
Yeah, so if somebody says, hey, look, I'm worried about how immigration is affecting wages. Perfectly legitimate conversation. We can agree to disagree on that. If someone says, well, look, those guys coming across the border, they're all criminals and rapists. You know how those Latinos are. Get out. Somebody take a picture. Get out.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at some other stats from this study that was done by Wakefield Research. So they found that 22% of Americans know a couple relationship has been negatively impacted specifically due to President Trump's election, okay? 24% of Americans in a relationship say they and their partner have disagreed or argued about politics more than ever since Trump was elected. And then finally, I think this is the most interesting stat, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, especially because you're married, I'm married. 33% of Americans, 43% of millennials who did not vote for Trump said that they would consider divorcing their spouse if they did so.
Damn, man, that's a high number.
That is a high number.
Now, girlfriend, boyfriend, that's one thing. Marriage is serious, dog. So you got kids? Well, give them another shot. Like, see if you can talk a little bit more about why maybe Latinos are not criminals or rapists, and maybe we shouldn't profile Muslims, and that's an un-American thing to do, and the list goes on and on. Try to work that stuff out.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I just feel like someone's political opinion or who they support as a politician, let's say that they are engaged, they are invested, they know everything there is to know. Who they support represents who they are as a person, what their values are, what their principles are. And so if you find yourself in a marriage where your partner is just the antithesis of who you are, has the complete opposite values as you, like, you must have been living under a rock. I mean, why'd you marry this person in the first place? You should have had some idea of who they were, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, if it becomes like a constant point of conflict, then yeah, you gotta do what's right for you. Do you, boo? If you got a divorce, divorce.
I don't know, man. Divorce is a hell of a thing.
It is, man. It's expensive and costly, and
it's not just that. You
drama.
It's not just that. You're married to that person. You try to build a life together.
Yeah.
But it is a rude awakening if you wake up one day and you realize the person next to you actually has these terrible thoughts about other people, etc. But most of the time they just don't know. So just take a breather for a second. Send them Young Turks videos, and it'll all work out. Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.